Hello everyone, you're watching an easy, free-to-play friendly build guide for Yae Miko. I'll help you go through which artifacts and which weapons you should use for her. So without a further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have the bread and butter of every build, artifacts. Choosing a good artifact set that matches the character's playstyle can make or break them. Yae Miko is primarily a sub-DPS. She's meant to pop in, put down some sideshow Sakuras, burst, and switch out. Her playstyle is actually very similar to Zhongli, where their skills deal passive damage and their burst deals insane amounts of instant damage. Since that's the case, we'll be focusing our artifact sets around a sub-DPS playstyle. Don't worry though, for those who wish to use Yae Miko as a main DPS, I'll also cover that as well. There are actually 5 artifact builds that come to mind when I see Yae Miko, and let's start off with the easiest one. Imagine that you just pulled for Yae Miko. You're panicking because you did not prep for her at all. In this scenario, you're going to want a 2-piece Gladiator and a 2-piece Wanderer's Troop set. Now, don't look down on these sets, these are the easiest artifacts to get in the game, they drop from pretty much everywhere, so most likely you will have a couple of these pieces in your inventory already. The 2-piece Gladiator set gives a reliable 18% attack bonus that can be used in Yae Miko's normal attacks, skills, burst, everything essentially. Now, you're probably questioning why I threw in the 2-piece Wanderer set. This is actually my first time recommending the Wanderer set ever. It's actually kind of crazy, but there's finally a good reason to do so. That is because Yae Miko has a passive that converts Elemental Mastery into additional elemental skill damage. So not only are you getting the extra elemental reaction damage, you're also getting a bonus 12% skill damage as well. Not too bad at all. If you're going to use this build, you're going to want an attack percent timepiece, electro damage goblet, and a crit rate or crit damage hat. As for substats, you're going to want to prioritize crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and energy recharge at that order. The 2-piece Gladiator set and 2-piece Wanderer set is by far the easiest set to get and use, but it is definitely not the most effective build, so let's get into the next one. Next up on the build list is the staple artifact set for every Electro character out there. The 4-piece Thundering Fury set. If you want to use Yae Miko as a main DPS, this is probably your best bet. As a Catalyst user, Yae Miko's every attack deals electro damage, so that juicy extra 15% electro damage bonus is like having a permanent buff all around. The same logic applies to the 4-piece bonus that gives an extra 40% elemental reaction bonus, and with how Yae Miko's passive talent encourages putting on elemental mastery, that 40% bonus will only make her more deadly. Another advantage is that this set can actually be used on any Electro character, so if for some reason you want to use a different Electro character, you get bored of Yae Miko, you can just swap the set onto them and it will work out great. There's a couple downsides to this set though. First of all, Yae Miko doesn't really benefit that much from the skill cooldown bonus. In addition, Yae Miko's skill only places down a max of 3 sideshow Sakuras on the field, so resetting that cooldown quicker isn't really needed. Then there's the issue with elemental reaction damage. It's quite inconsistent, and getting Yae Miko to create the elemental reaction can be quite difficult for some people, especially if she's constantly off the field as a sub DPS. This is a less of a downside though if you're using Yae Miko as a main DPS. Being on the field more often makes it easier for her to take advantage of her reaction bonus. If you're going to use this set, I'd recommend an attack percent timepiece, electro damage gauntlet, and a crit damage hat. As for substats, you're going to want crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and elemental mastery in that order. While the 4-piece Thundering Fury is great for Electro characters, it's more of a one-size-fits-all solution. It certainly works well with the Yae Miko, but I think there are builds that work just as well, if not better for her. This brings us to the third build, a 2-piece Thundering Fury set and a 2-piece Noblest set. This build is similar to the previous one with a few key differences. Similar to the previous build, as a Catalyst user who only uses electro damage, an extra juicy 15% electro damage bonus is a must-have for Yae Miko. What's different, however, with this build is that we are exchanging the inconsistent elemental reaction damage bonus for a more stable elemental burst damage bonus. Yae Miko's burst deals some of the highest instant damage in the game, so while Yae Miko's overall damage will suffer without the extra reaction damage, it's more than made up by increasing the damage of Yae Miko's burst. This also plays into Yae Miko's playstyle as a sub DPS. If you're going to use this build, I'd recommend a attack percent timepiece, electro damage gauntlet, and a crit damage hat. As for substats, you want crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and a little bit of energy recharge. These substats will help Yae Miko's role as a sub DPS. Yae Miko doesn't always have to be a sub DPS, so let's talk about build number 4, which emphasizes the support and support DPS. It consists of a 4-piece Noblest set. The set exchanges a little bit of Yae Miko's overall damage and increases the damage of your team as a whole. The best part about this set is that you can actually farm it passively while trying to get other artifact sets. For example, you can grind for the Thundering Fury set and toss any garbage or Thunder Soother artifacts into a Noblest Artifact Strongbox to get Noblest Oblige artifacts. The only downside to this set is that Yae Miko's burst has a long cooldown of 22 seconds, and the attack percent bonus of the set only lasts for 12 seconds. So if you time Yae Miko's burst well, it's a great buff, but if you mistime it, you're going to have to wait a long time to get it again. If you're going to use this build, I'd recommend an attack percent timepiece, electro damage gauntlet, and a crit damage hat. As for substats, you want crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and elemental mastery. Moving on to the best and final build in my opinion. One of the main problems with Yae Miko is that her burst has 1. A long cooldown time, and 2. Uses up a whopping 90 energy per burst. This can make filling up her burst a huge pain in the butt. You can't really reduce the cooldown however, so that leaves just energy. And solving Yae Miko's energy problem requires energy recharge though. But it's hard to justify getting more energy recharge with most builds because usually it comes at the expense of other stats like attack and damage. This is where build 5 comes in. Build 5 consists of a 4-piece emblem of Severed Fate set. In my opinion, this build best matches Yae Miko's playstyle as a sub DPS and is the ideal build for her. Trying to fill up Yae Miko's 90 energy ult is very frustrating, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who've played Radiant Shogun know 90 energy is a lot to fill. But more energy recharge solves this very problem. In addition, the 4-piece effect also takes care of the reduced damage dealt that usually occurs when you emphasize energy recharge over other stats. And with this build, you can fairly easily get 200% energy recharge, which means 1. You get your ult twice as fast, and 2. You get a whopping 50% elemental burst damage bonus. That's a lot. The only downside to this build is the reduced skill damage compared to the other builds. However, a 25 burst damage bonus at the minimum is worth it in my opinion, to be honest, especially since Yae Miko has such a high burst damage. If you decide to go with this build, I'd recommend an energy recharge timepiece, electro damage goblet, and a crit damage hat. For substats, you're going to want crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, and attack percent in that order. Once you've chosen your build, it's time to talk about weapons. I didn't put a weapon in each build because Yae Miko pretty much works best with the same weapons in every build. The best weapon overall for Yae Miko is the 5-star weapon Kagura's Verity, no surprise. Next best is the Skyward Atlas, followed by the Lost Prayer to the Sacred Winds. All 5-star weapons. If you're like me and struggle to get any 5-star weapons, let's now talk about some more free-to-play friendly weapon choices. First up on the list is the Oathsworn Eye. This is actually an upcoming event weapon that has a high base attack percent secondary stat, and a weapon ability at Art 5 that increases energy recharge by 48% for 10 seconds after using an elemental skill. This weapon is a perfect pair for the emblem of Severed Fate set in build 5. If you don't use that build, this is still a worthwhile weapon for Yae Miko to use. The energy recharge alleviates some of the frustration that comes from having a high energy cost burst, and the secondary attack percent stat makes up for the lack of damage bonuses compared to other weapons' abilities. Sadly, this weapon does come from an event, so if you miss the event, you won't be able to get this weapon again. Next up is the craftable weapon Mapamar. It boasts a high base attack stat, and its weapon ability grants a respectable amount of elemental damage bonus. This, along with the secondary substat of Elemental Mastery that Yae Miko converts into bonus skill damage, makes the Mapamar the easiest and most applicable free-to-play weapon for Yae Miko. The only downside to this weapon is the need to trigger an elemental reaction in order to gain that damage bonus. If for some reason you can't get the Oathsworn Eye, this is definitely your best free-to-play weapon. Finally, if for some reason you don't have any catalyst billets left, or you're using the Mapamar for another character, the Widsith is another great choice for Yae Miko if you have it. While it does have a lower base attack stat than the Mapamar, it does have a nice crit damage secondary stat that pairs well with the Yae Miko's secondary stat crit rate. This, along with its very fun weapon ability, makes it a strong contender for the best free-to-play friendly weapon. Alright, so you've chosen your build and you've chosen your weapon. All that's left is to level up your talents. I don't think I need to delve into this too much, but I'll just say as Yae Miko is a sub DPS, prioritize her skill and burst first. Anyways guys, hope I was able to clarify some of your doubts on how to build Yae Miko, and I will see you in the next one.